Well, there's outrage over former Guantanamo Bay detainee returning to terrorism. Jamal al-Harith is identified as an ISIS terrorist who blew himself up in an attack on an Iraqi army base earlier this week. The news comes as the Trump administration says it intends to keep Gitmo open. Former Green Beret Commander Michael Waltz served as counterterror advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. Good to see you today. This is not the only formerly detained terror suspect at Gitmo who's returned to terror.
Well, that's right, Shannon. You know, in this case, sadly, he became a suicide bomber, but we have a huge recidivism rate where these released detainees rejoin the ranks of terrorists. And in most cases, they become leaders in their various movements. These guys, once they're released from Guantanamo, are rock stars in the kind of the jihadi world. You know, my own personal experience out in Afghanistan, we had to deal with a Mullah Zakir who was released to the Afghan government. They subsequently released him, and he became the Taliban's military leader, leading the attacks against the troop surge at the time. So this is something that we have to stop. Unfortunately, fortunately, we're going to keep Guantanamo open. There's no good options here from a policy standpoint, but to keep it open and keep putting these guys there.
During the briefing, Sean Spicer said that the president believes Guantanamo Bay does serve a very, very healthy purpose. Another top advisor over to the president, Sebastian Gorka, says the president's been explicit. It's a very, very important tool. Now, the previous administration, the president had vowed to shut it down and said it was a recruiting tool. Quickly, your response to that argument.
Well, look, I don't think there's an option here to this argument. We don't have a choice. Either you bring them here to the United States where they're subject to the rights of our courts, or you release them to third countries where they're often then released out into the global population and turn against us. So we don't have a choice to keep it open. It's unfortunate, but we have to. And let's not forget, Shannon, you know, the Taliban the five leaders that were exchanged for Bo Bergdahl. Who knows what they're up to right now?
That's a very good question. All right, Michael, we are now seeing the president live. We've got to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about Gitmo.